start recording. So this gallery is focusing on nature, and it shows you the major riverine systems of Sarawak. So you can see the systems, and most of them originate in the highlands and they empty out into the South China Sea. So this is the diverse environment of Sarawak. So you have the first zone, which is the communities, the second zone, which is the tropical rainforests, and the highlands. Particularly what we are aware of is the Kelabit highlands. Let's see what more is here. Now this is very interesting. It's actually a doe of a Bidayu carved doe. Now there is a symbolism of that. So you have a twin-tailed crocodile, pythons, and a frog. So what does it mean? So the frog is essentially the food served to the spirit, so to do not disturb the inhabitants. Some ethnic groups in Borneo regard carved does as status markers. The door is actually from Kampung Payao and dates back to 19th and 20th centuries. Okay, now this gallery is very beautiful. So we begin with the coastal areas. So one of the prominent species in the coastal areas will be the proboscis monkey, Nasalis larvatus, which has a prominent nose. The males have a prominent nose. And let's look at it. These are the various traditional fishing implements and the fish. So you can see here a grouper fish in the foreground and various other species of fish. And now what you see behind is a traditional fish capturing net, which is called a bubu actually. So the various kinds of fishing implements, something to catch crabs. And this is very interesting. This is different kinds of fishing tackle and fishing hooks as well. The coastal areas primarily focus on the fishing as a source of food. There are some of the porcelain artifacts. In the days when porcelain was very rare, these were considered as important symbols of status. It's something interesting. It's called a traditional marriage customs. So in the Sarawak Malays, the custom has an elder as a judge. The judge will lift the cover of the rice, and the couple will compete to grab and rice and feed each other. So this is a Jai Jog, it's a Melanau marriage custom which symbolizes the washing of the bride's foot before she enters the groom's house. The bride will have her right foot soaked with water, a woman of high esteem. Again, related to probably the spiritual elements of the people and the traditions of the people. Now, traditional healing using shamanic music and other implements, including communing with the spirits, is an important element of the tribal culture. So in the traditional sense, spirits were considered as the cause of any kind of illness. Interesting. style. Okay. This is also another artifact used as a decoration or embellishment in houses. Okay. Some other very interesting embellishments from the various tribal groups of Sarawak. Well, we have different spirits. Basically, all of the spirits is a boat spirit, a water spirit, an air spirit, a forest spirit, and you do not have a fire spirit of elements. Interesting observation on cosmology. So all human beings, all civilizations have a view of the cosmos. So according to Melanau traditional beliefs, the universe is shaped like an egg. It consists of three worlds, the middle, upper and lower worlds, which is separated by barriers in which every being and creature has its proper place. So we as humans live in the middle world. It exists villages and rivers. These are the forests, hills, mountains and seas. Humans share these environments with non-human beings such as spirits, plants, and animals, which can be hostile, especially when there's disorder in the domain. So overlapping into another being's domain poses various risks. Should this happen, disrupt the natural world, troubles may arise. As human beings, popular places within their villages, and their behavior should also adhere to the customs adat. Ignoring adat will bring social danger and misfortunes. So there is a very strong sense of law, which is known as adat, that can be transliterated into conventional English. So it's adat actually refers to a law, but it's actually a system of etiquette and courtesy. This is a very interesting mortuary custom. So when a death occurs, the bereaved family members go into mourning. They then start making funeral preparations and observe funerary customs according to the adat. And the wake involves lamentations and feasting. Traditional games sometimes played to lift the spirit of the grieving family. In the past, Melanau practices their primary and secondary burials. Hanging coffins is the primary burial, and secondary burial involves the erection of the burial poles that held the bones of the deceased and other family members at a later date. So it's basically a two-step process. So that's the coffin, I assume. So this museum hosts a lot of diverse artifacts which have been acquired from the remote villages in Borneo. This is very interesting. Different kinds of containers and devices used for gathering rice. You can see the pot there. It's generally used for storing food, grains perhaps. Traditional mats and very beautiful traditional hats. Traditional food covers. That's interesting. And sun hats. Now some of these artifacts may be very precious because they're very hard to acquire deep into the rainforest. Over here you have a very interesting artifact. It's a beetle nut cutter, much as you might see in other cultures in Southeast Asia. And that's some silverware. Let's see what we have over here. So we have a wooden lime container. This is probably for a beetle nut. A brass lime container. A mortar and pestle to crush your beetle. And you have a receptacle for holding your beetle components and almost everything related to beetle nuts. Apparently beetle nut eating is important in this tradition. So we even have a spittoon to spit out your betel nut. This will be interesting. You should have these in places where people eat a lot of betel nuts, I guess. And this is very interesting. A crocodile. Now, crocodiles are a major cause of accidents and incidents in the rivers of Sarawak. They are man-eating crocodiles, and that is a saltwater crocodile, Crocodilus palustris. What's here? These are actually instruments or implements used by riverine dwellers rather. So you have paddles, earthenware. The preok is earthenware preok, which is a container. Then you have the beaters, various kinds of implements used for beating. So, as in the case of a beater, is basically a implement which is used as a mortar and pestle. Now these are the ceramic jars which have different names. Basically in Borneo we call them tajaus. So you can see them there behind. Now this is the gong, which is used in almost all ceremonies. During funerals, births, announcements, you use this gong and you hit the center of the gong as well as the sides to get a unique melody or instrumentation. Various artifacts inside, ceramic plates, and these are swords. So beads in this culture are referred to as manik. Then we have a very interesting exhibit here. We have the exhibits. Earring. Okay, let's look at exhibition, the native trees. So one of the most important trees is Belian. If you have seen the Borneo ironwood, it's a black wood, black heartwood, and this is used as a very strong building material, as well as it was used in railway sleepers when the British exploited Borneo. Okay, now in addition to this, the traditional spiritual beliefs have a tree of life concept and the human origins based on the tree of life. Now what's very interesting is that the forest communities actually use the bark of the trees to create clothing material. There's a very beautiful suit which is worn in traditional systems, and that behind you is entirely made of tree barks. There are various implements made with wood and iron, and here you have the bowls which have been carved entirely out of wood. There's more elements of functionality. Now artifacts and musical instruments used for rituals. Now generally in every village, the traditional healer, or the Bobo Hizan as it was called in the Sabah area, is used as a means of communicating with the spirit world. So the spiritual element involves sacrifice, usually with blood, and that's